Hello everyone, I'm Okeedoku and welcome back to Alchemy Factory. This will be episode 4. Now, before we begin, I just want to apologise for how this audio quality might be. I am going to keep trying and tweaking and improving it. I've done some very budget sound dampening in my room, which I'll put a picture up so you can see it. This is what it's currently looking like. So yeah, I'll do what I can with, like, in the future. I've already got plans to at some point get a cheap wall divider to try and cut off the rest of the room. But again, please be patient. As I said, like, although I do want to treat this as a hobby, it's one of those things where I still want it. It'll be more fun if I can make good quality things that people actually can bear listening to. So then once I've got the actual audio quality to work on properly, excuse me a second, then while I'm also working on the actual overall audio quality, I will actually try and start properly voice training, because I know my voice just isn't great. I've always hated it, and honestly I've thought about this. It'd be another benefit to me doing this. It means I'm actually getting the active feedback of listening to my own voice while I'm editing, and I can try and change it and improve and actually work towards developing a vocal sound I actually can tolerate. But yeah, enough of that, let's get into it. So I have done some off-recording work like I said I would, but I've not done everything I said I would. First of all, as you can immediately see, I've moved some things because I figured there's no point hooking everything up just yet when I'm so close to being able to upgrade my building tool, so then I can create walls and floors and actually expand the shop. So that's the plan for that. I've just got rid of everything I had here before because we've got the blueprints saved for them. And with that in mind, there's one other little blueprint I need to change, which I realised while editing the last episode, so we'll get into that. And it's the sand one. I need some large gears. So what I actually want to do is, rather than having these grinders, this one go and split between 4, what I actually want to do is put 2 on this side and 2 on that side, then have it split evenly between those pairs. So I shall be right back. Okay, so that's that done. I've also updated the clay blueprint as well, since that used the sand layout I had. So that should be considerably better. Well, not considerably, but somewhat better. Right then, now, so for the building tool, we need 30 clay and 30 bricks. So guess what we're doing next? Some quests. Right, we've got those. That reminds me, I've also put some things to the side for when we get into things later. For one, the 50 bandages for the sample quest, and 200 sage, as we'll need those to give us fertilizer production a kickstart when we do get into that. So essentially what this does, it allows us to fulfill contract and automate them just for a bit extra profit. So if we do this, and we can now sell 50 bandages at a time and we get 12 silver. There's a limit, so 800 bandages in total per day. And it's automated. We'll just do this to clear up a few. I'm going to save a stack, and yeah, I'm going to save those. But for one, just to show you and keep us going a little bit cash-wise, I'll put these in. They'll feed through. As you can see, that's going up. When that fills, we get 12 silver. And that's that. And so we need at least 30. Okie dokie, so we can now craft that, which will unlock more of those, just on about support check, which we'll worry about later. But time for some more rearranging of the hotbars, since we're starting to get a lot more things now. So, be right back. Okay, done a bit of rearranging. I won't go over it, I'll just quickly scroll through so you can sort of see what's changed or what's moved. And see how I've got things set up. There we go. Right. First thing we want to start placing are these floors. Not there. Now what we need to work on are the walls. So we need 10 bricks per wall. Right, this is going to be a while. Regardless of which wall we use, so we can't cheap around that. Okay guys, I'll be back in a while. And we're back. Been quite a lot longer than I initially said. I figured you don't need to see me go through the whole very painful building process. Because I will admit, when it comes to putting together your shop like this, the game is a little bit limited, but it's not the main purpose for the game. But as you can see from certain angles, it doesn't look great. From certain angles, it looks slightly better. But I've done the best I can with how I'm able. I think this angle is probably the best. Which, looking at it again, yeah. But it's fine, it'll do. Honestly, for like putting together the shop, I feel like being able to do proper corner roofing would be nice. But never mind. I've also put together a small, like a quick blueprint just for some corner stairs to get up a floor, because I don't know what's going to go up here, but we've got it. I also expanded the scuffed brick setup. But now that I've used alt bricks I needed for this monstrosity, we can now go to put them towards blast furnace setups, which will be considerably better. Right, so here is the new charcoal setup. So I've used the space of the blast furnace to effectively double the output of what we had before. And I've updated the iron setup for his building materials. I'm not gonna bother with the iron nail setup for stock in the shop, just because I think that will actually be enough at 30 a minute. If it's not, we'll update it later, but honestly I do think that'll be fine. Now the next thing I want to do is set up the... I need to redo the clay setup to adjust for this, and then we'll expand it and add a module for making bricks as well. So if we look at bricks, because we do use quite a lot, I'd like a fair few, so 10 a minute to 15 clay a minute. So yeah, I'm thinking for bricks, we want 30 clay a minute, so 2 assemblers worth to 3 kilns. Right, rather than talking about it, I'll just... Right, I'll update the clay blueprint, and then we'll make a start on adding a brick module to it. So, back in a sec. Okay, I got a little bit carried away, and I've made this monstrosity that will produce 15 clay a minute to go into here for building, and 30 bricks a minute, which will split between 20 a minute going for the shop and 10 a minute going for building materials. I think. I'll let you know if I change my mind, but for now, thinking I'm okay with this. Let me just have a think. Here we go, the new clay and brick monstrosity. So, same concept, except this time I've remembered I needed to triple the sand input. So we've got clay to go there, bricks for building materials, and bricks for the shop. And you might have noticed, before I crammed all 3 kilns onto one blast furnace, this time, just to make it a bit simpler, I've decided to just spread it across 2. It's not a super efficient use of space, but it works. Because of how the kilns fit on the regular furnace, if I wanted all 3 next to each other, but then have them belting out, I'd have to do just awkward shenanigans to make sure I can still fuel, like just putting an elevator there, then blocks around it, just so I can get conveyor belts there. Whereas with this, I can just use the extra space on blast furnace as the table as well. So yeah, that's that one done. Next monstrosity will be bandages that we start working on, which obviously means healing potions as well. And there we go. That's this monstrosity built. So we've got it producing 60 healing potions a minute, and it's using 48 of those to create bandages, which is then split off between contract portal and what will go to the shop, and then the remaining 12 a minute will go here for healing potions for shop. If we if it can't keep up for healing potions, I don't mind just taking one of these modules and doing a separate one purely for healing potions. I probably wouldn't even need a full module. I'd just need like a double stack or something. Even if that might just be one extra little setup, which we can worry about in future. That's that one set up. So now, goodbye to this. Okay, I think now what we need to do is plot out the shop layout so we know where everything's gonna go. I could do it moving these. Yeah, honestly, I think for what we need to do, really, that will suffice. But I did build the shop big enough with some future proofing in mind, but all these will cover everything in this current level. And now it's just to... No, it's not. No, it's not. Now comes the fun part of working out our nursery setup. Okay, I've spent some time. I have estimated the maths on the amount of fertilizer I'm going to need. So here's editing me to run through that. Okay, so here's the setups we need to look at and prepare for. To start with, we need to consider that each grinder works at 20 a minute for both flax and sage. So the typical triple grinder setup we currently have will need 60 a minute. With that in mind, the rope setup will need 120 flax a minute, linen needs 360 a minute, and the bandage / potion monstrosity will need 980 flax and 360 sage a minute. This totals in 1,460 flax and 360 sage a minute. Now, flax grows at a rate of 30 a minute while sage grows at 20, so at the bare minimum we'll need to build 49 nurseries for flax and 18 for sage. Now if only it were that simple, as we do need to bump those numbers to cover for when we start pulleys, which will need flax for the rope, soap which uses both flax and sage, and vitality potions which will also need red currants. I haven't even got to the fertilizer yet, which also needs plant ash. A single basic fertilizer lasts 14.4 seconds, which will mean that each nursery will use 4.166 recurring fertilizer a minute, and for simplicity we're just going to say it's 4.2, and a single fertilizer will produce 4.8 sage per minute. So within a little over a minute, one fertilizer essentially goes into 4.8 more, which can then go onto around 20 more, only 15 of which being used the next minute. This means that a net gain of fertilizer will approximately be about 10.2 per minute. Going back to our needs of running a bare minimum of 67 nurseries, running those at max efficiency means we need 281.4 fertilizer a minute, which will need 15 nurseries to keep up with the sage production, which will then need a further 63 fertilizer a minute, so that's another 4 nurseries, meaning another 16.8 fertilizer a minute with an extra nursery, so that's a further 4.2. For a total of 365.4 fertilizer a minute before we even consider the rope for the pulleys, soap and vitality potions. So to play it safe, I'm thinking we aim for 600 fertilizer a minute. With all that in mind, first thing we need to do is set up that crazy fertilizer production. So now, let's go. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I am actually struggling a fair bit with this one, just because of how it's gonna work, because of how much, well, because of how big this setup's gonna be, and because I'm gonna need to hook the fertilizer up to the sage. I think I need to get some just regular nursery modules done, and then we can get back to what it's gonna be. I might even not time lapse this, and I might just cut, because yeah, we'll see. Okay guys, it's been a couple of days since I last actually recorded. I have done a bit of work in between. The observant of you will notice that my reputation's gone down quite a lot, because I had a fair few things spare from before, like a lot of mortars and things, and I just wanted to run all them down while getting a bit more money. So I just let them run out. Not too fussed about reputation at the minute. That can easily be rebuilt. But that's not all I've done. As you can see, I've placed flooring everywhere, just because I think it looks a bit cleaner. It'll also make it a bit better for lining things up. I do still need to do this patch, which we'll get to later. But so I was originally gonna have a huge nursery set up, like just a big wall of nurseries that would feed the fertilizer into from behind, and then just move the whatever crops are being grown to where they need to be. However, I've changed that plan now, and instead on on the 3 setups we've got so far that need them, I've actually gone to the trouble of setting up the nurseries that we're going to need for each one. So there's the rope one, the linen one gets a fair bit bigger. So as you can imagine, the bandage monstrosity has changed a fair bit. It now looks like this. As you can see, my frame rate's chugging, just bringing it up. But look at that material usage. Yep. Obviously, I don't have the nails to build it. In fact, 1 second. There we go. Just quickly built it temporarily so you can see what we're doing with the sage and the flax. So we have each side for the healing potion modules have 9 sage nurseries and they'll 6 flax nurseries. And they're set up to go fairly evenly. Well, I'm hoping I've got it right, but evenly distributed each among the 3. So yeah, so we've got 20 a minute for each nursery, so 60 a minute going into each one, and then the 30 a minute going into the others, and then they just split between each layer. And then the linen ones are fairly simple as well. They're just all set up to evenly distribute. Right, I'll get rid of this and then we shall start working on the fertilizer setup, I think, which is gonna be a big one. Okay, so first of all, I've set up the quicklime powder module. Now, so it's set up with double stone crushers going into the crucibles, then grinders, and because these are slow for quicklime, we can actually, oh well, we should at least be able to have them all feed into a single belt without any bottlenecking. If I'm wrong on that, we can adjust, but I think the math's right on that because belt moves at 60 a minute. Each of these produces at 6.7 a minute. Should work. And it's set up so it's split, and then we can feed the fuel into the back here. Now, all in all, for the setup we're going for, which to remind you will be 600 fertilizer a minute, we're going to need 15 of these. I was hoping to make it stackable, but with what we've currently got, that's not actually possible. But we'll do what we can with what we're able. I can always build some more floors and then just feed from there. But, so yeah, that's the first part. And then I need to sort out what I'm doing for the nurseries. So be right back again. And here will be our plant ash modules. So again, going on concept of just using a, like putting what I can onto a single blast furnace without cramming it and just making it kind of annoying to ensure I'm not bottlenecking. This is what I've come up with. So just again, total of 6 nurseries, 1 per crucible, and they just feed in, and then again 20 a minute production, belts move at 60 a minute so we can merge them. Yeah, so let's get that saved and then we'll start finding a place to put it all together, I think. So we need a total of the 15 of the stone crusher modules I've got. 1 second, I'm just writing this down to remind myself. That's 5 of these modules. And then we need to feed those into a total of 40 assemblers. Yeah, I'm not going to even try and time-lapse this. I'm going to pause the recording and next time you see it, it'll be done. Now, expect that day count to have risen quite a bit because this is going to take me a long time to figure out, probably. Right, see you guys soon. Okay guys, as you can see from the day count, it's been a few days while I've been setting up the fertilizer factory. I haven't tested it, but it should suffice for what we've used, because as you can see, I've cleared up that set we've had, we've got flooring, and now you might be able to see in corner there's been some changes. Right, are you ready to see the absolute monstrosity of the fertilizer factory we've got set up? Here we go. There's the assemblers. There's the stage for the plant ash. The charcoal setup's behind. But then we needed a second floor for the quicklime powder. as you can see, I've got all the belts set up, everything's connected. We just need to start getting things going. The main inefficiency this will have will just be with how the belts are feeding into everything, but they should eventually catch up, and once they do, essentially this machine will just take a bit of time to warm up to 100% efficiency. But if I've done my math right, which I probably haven't, let's be honest, we should get 600 fertilizer per minute. And I've also worked out how much is going back into that sage production. And then I've got everything else going into these crates, which can then just be moved off to other places. So in the next episode, we'll get back to setting everything up and reopening the shop and progressing further on with the research. So yeah, thanks for watching if you've stuck around this long, and I shall see you guys in the next episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, goodbye.